Hello, WNR podcast listeners. Nate Maxon here with you. And for this week's shows, we are dedicating the shows to the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Fame 2024. For those of you that might be new, we actually have our own Hall of Fame here at the WNR Podcast Network. It was started when we just had the We Can't Wrestle podcast, so it is called the We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame. Every year, I have a panel of voters, literally people that vote, like some of the people that are voting in our distinguished Hall of Fame. Friends of mine from, as you might know, the Asylum, David Gold, John Majewski, Dave Dynasty is one of our panelists. Brian Davis from the Wrestling Video Vault, of course, Chad Austin, myself, Archie Mitchell, Kyle Army, Mark Brew, lots of the talent here from the WNR Podcast Network. But anyway, all of the people that vote, I appreciate them every single year. And this year, the 2024 class of the Hall of Fame is in the books. And usually there's a nominating process as well to get to the ballot. This year I actually decided to forego the nominating process so that I could get the ballot down to about a 20-person ballot next year. Last year it got a little excessive. We were like up over 30 people on the ballot, and I like to keep it at 20 pretty much. But then the voters that vote get to vote on 8 talents that they would like to be in. I tally those votes. We get our inductions, okay? Just a reminder, if someone is on the ballot for 5 years and doesn't get in, they must go back through the nomination process. So the criteria that I ask people to consider: 10 years plus as a pro, exceptions could be made in a situation like Magnum TA, in-ring ability, promo ability, being of significance to the business, whether as a whole or to a certain promotion or territory, drawing power, and for tag teams, they need to have been a consistent team for at least 1 calendar year. So let's go through the classes that we've had already, for those of you that may be listening for the first time or for those of you that want a refresher. The initial Hall of Fame class was 2020. We inducted Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, The Undertaker, Bobby Heenan, Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, Vince McMahon Jr., and Steve Austin. And then the class of 2021 was Terry Funk, Dusty Rhodes, Bruno Sammartino, Jerry Lawler, Harley Race, Jim Cornette, Bret Hart, and Lou Thez. The class of 2022, the Road Warriors, Roddy Piper, Shawn Michaels, Gene Okerlund, Fred Blassie, Buddy Rogers, Kurt Hennig, and Paul Heyman. The class of 2023, let me get there here, Nick Bockwinkel, Bruiser Brody, Stu Hart, The Junkyard Dog, The Original Sheik, Gorilla Monsoon, Ted DiBiase, and Sting. So, that being said, the 2024 ballot consisted of Ricky Dozon, Mick Foley. Now, Ricky Dozon has been on the ballot for 5 years, so if he did not get in this year, he has to go back through the nominating process, by the way. Ricky Dozon, Mick Foley, Arn Anderson, The Rock, Bob Backlund, Vader, The Midnight Express, Sherry Martel, Rick Rude, Rick Steamboat, Sergeant Slaughter, John Cena, Rey Mysterio Jr., Antonio Inoki, Chris Jericho, Trish Stratus, Kane, Jimmy Hart, Gorgeous George, the Von Erichs, Eddie Guerrero, and Buddy Rose. And by the votes, the 2024 class of the We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame became, congratulations to Ricky Steamboat, Sherry Martel, The Midnight Express, Arn Anderson, Bob Backlund, Rick Rude, the Von Erichs, and John Cena. And now, that being said, we'll get to your particular show you're listening to and that particular conversation about the 2024 We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame.
Hi, Aaron. How you feeling, buddy? Are you feeling super intelligent?
I don't know about all that.
You gotta be feeling super intelligent.
I'm feeling moderately
Coherent.
Yeah.
Moderately coherent. The moderately coherent destroyer.
Well, this is a big show. I cannot wait all day long. All I kept saying was, can't wait for tonight's show.
Yes, and that is because we are taking a break from discussing ECW TV this week. And actually, Chad, you'll be very happy to know that when we do resume reviewing ECW TV next week, we will finally be, I know you're going to say I'm lying, but we will finally be in 1997. We are escaping 1996.
1396.
13 years of 96, yes.
That's a month slash. It's gonna be. I'm gonna say, hey Nate, just give me the show date, whatever. 13/2/96. Okay.
Doing the Hall of Fame, correct?
Yes, we are taking a break from reviewing ECW. We're talking about the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Fame this week.
We should do, because we have the We Can't Wrestle Hall of Fame. We have the We Can't Wrestle Hall of Shame, which I love. I was like, man, we should do like an RET or an RTE Hall of, all right,
Nothing.
and just induct people that we love from the years of ECW. But yeah, we'll do
Hall of
that when
Fame.
we're done.
It's the Hall
We'll
of
do that
Fountain
when
Jacks.
we'll do that when we're done. The Hall of Heyman or whatever. We'll do that when we're completely done with
it's the
ECW.
hall of the handshake, and I will get you next time.
Hall of Ham Bones.
It's the Bingo Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Good.
pretty much.
We'll do the Bingo Hall of Fame. That's fun.
Well, I mean, there's already a picture of fucking Richard Michaels probably in there. Whatever his name is, Sir Richard Mike, whatever his name is.
He'd be like the Andre the Giant of the Bingo Hall of Fame, like
He's already
the
in.
first inductee. Yeah, like stand alone.
Like
Yeah,
nobody.
There's no ceremony. It's just a video.
Yeah,
of Christopher Michaels.
And it ends with his Bullwinkle impersonation.
Hey, by the way, do you guys follow Donnie Allen? By any chance?
No, I didn't even know he was on social media.
The authorities do, but I don't.
Dude, Donnie Allen is a pretty accomplished drummer, and he's in a pretty decent band. Like he tagged me in something recently, and I was like, Donnie, I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, since 911, I haven't heard from you. You know, and he's been in the band, and he's doing pretty well. And he said he wanted to be on the show. And I said, Donnie, we've already covered all this. But, you can still come back on because I'm sure you put the ring together at some point.
I wouldn't mind having Donnie Allen on the show. Get some good guests.
I wouldn't mind having Aaron on the show.
We haven't had a guest since what? Tommy Cairo and the
that's the Peaches.
Ice cream music and
that's the whole
outing
Peaches.
outing a certain ring announcer. It was a fun time.
Yeah, that goes back to the whole Peaches debacle of the Tommy Cairo incident.
Well, since I didn't want to burden you guys with having to hear me repeat all the past inductees and all the induction rules and all that stuff, I've already pre-recorded something to put on before that so that the listeners are aware of who already is in the Hall of Fame and et cetera, et cetera. This year's ballot, I'll read it through and then I'll tell who our inductees were, and then we will discuss our inductees and, whoever everybody voted for as well.
I can't wait to see if I have any on my list.
The ballot for this year, the first guy on the ballot has been on for the entire 5 years that we've done this Hall of Fame. He hasn't made it in, which means now he falls off the ballot, has to go back through the nominating process. It's Ricky Dozon. I tried for 5 years to get him in, couldn't drum up enough votes, so he's out. Mick Foley was on the ballot, Arn Anderson, The Rock, Bob Backlund, Vader, The Midnight Express, Sherry Martel, Rick Rude, Rick Steamboat, Sergeant Slaughter, John Cena, Rey Mysterio Jr., Antonio Inoki, Chris Jericho, Trish Stratus, Kane, Jimmy Hart, Gorgeous George, the Von Erichs, Eddie Guerrero, and Buddy Rose.
What, Buddy Rose?
Buddy Rose is on there because Chad nominated him like 2 years ago or something. got him on the ballot. Good job. He's still hanging on. He's 2 years on. He's still got 3 years to get into the Hall of Fame. But our actual class of the Hall of Fame this year, the folks that got in based on the votes from the panel: Ricky Steamboat, Sensational Sherry, The Midnight Express, Arn Anderson, Bob Backlund, Rick Rude, the Von Erichs, that's going to be David, Kevin, and Carrie, and John Cena.
What about Mike? No Mike Von Erich?
Yeah, no Mike. Sorry, Mike. Mike, if you want to get in, you're going to have to try on your own.
What about Akeem?
What about Lance? Lance Von Erich.
I have him on my list, but not as a Von Erich.
I'll induct Lance Von Erich when I induct Rod Regis.
Ron Regis. He's not
That was Rodney from the Mean Street Posse's name on the indie scene. Rod Regis.
That's not a bad name, honestly. I mean, I can't hate that. No shit. They get you work?
A little bit. And now I think he runs his own. They always wind up running their own trucking company. I think he runs his own trucking company or something.
No, they haul rings.
That's the trucking company. Gotcha.
So basically, the list you're telling me is the list that I don't even need my list.
You voted for. Well, let's just go through here. We'll start at number 1 for the Hall of Fame, and Aaron, you can chime in. I know you and I had a discussion a few days ago on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, so this is more about Chad being the star of the show here.
No, I don't want to be the star of the show. I just had another list.
Well, you did vote for Ricky Steamboat, and he did get in, Chad.
I'm recanting that vote.
I did not vote for Steamboat this year. And Aaron did vote for Steamboat. So you guys both voted for him. I did not. Enough other people did that he got in. I think Dave Dynasty voted for him.
I mean, when you look at the list,
Archie Mitchell voted for Steamboat.
So can we agree that Steamboat's probably maybe a sympathy vote? Just because he's Steamboat?
My thing was like when I look at the list that was given of who you're going to vote for, it's like, do I vote for Ricky Steamboat? Yeah, because like I'm not going to vote for Trish Stratus before I vote for Ricky Steamboat, even though I'm not dissing Trish Stratus or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
No, I got you. I understand. I got you. I'm saying it. So we're going by that was your barometer. Like, yeah, all right, whether it's going to be like Ricky.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at the criteria, if you look at the criteria that we have, 10 plus years as a pro, in-ring ability, promo ability, being of significance to the business, whether as a whole or to a certain promotion or territory, and drawing power, Ricky clicks a lot of those boxes, you know,
and probably 2 generations.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it. He's just.
Would you, if you look back at his career, honest to God, and this is not, I'm being totally serious here. I just want your guys' opinion.
The answer is no for me.
Would you actually look back on his career and call Ricky Steamboat a draw?
No. I never got it. I never saw it, never got it. And no.
That's kind of why I was asking the question, because on a lot of cards, he had a lot of good matches with a lot of good wrestlers, but he was never the draw. Even when he was main eventing with Flair, really wasn't Flair the draw.
I feel he was the I don't want to say second banana, but he was like the guy that was with the guy. You know what I mean? And I got shit on a while back on our Facebook page because I said that I didn't think Steamboat, other than the early career that he had in Mid-Atlantic, he never stayed anywhere long enough to be a fucking draw. I don't think.
You're not wrong. I totally agree with you.
No, that's not wrong, but it's also in the same vein not quite even. It's not even as good as in the same vein as Greg Valentine. That you would stay there long enough so people would not get tired of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, but in Steamboat's career, he bailed just way too early. Like he bailed like anytime his wife got a hangnail or something. You know, his daughter was late to school or something. Like he bailed out of a company or something. But like he missed a lot of steps. Yeah, I mean Steamboat to me, he's one of them kind of guys that are always going to be in the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
but not my conversation.
But just as an entering talent and just being a guy that was always kind of, how do I want to say it, like you can't deny his in-ring ability. And then
No.
you do the Flair series, his feud with Savage, all that shit. It's like, man, it's a Hall of Fame career in my opinion.
I'll tell you one of the best compliments that I've ever gotten in the business, and I got the 8x10 autographs afterwards. Was after a match that I don't even remember who I was even in the ring with, but Steamboat was the referee. And after the match, he came over to me and we were all shaking each other's hands and stuff. And he said, I got to tell you, Chad, I haven't seen anybody sell like that since Ricky Morton. Now I'm looking at Ricky Steamboat going, you had what? You know what I mean? I'm thinking, so you're holding me in the same conversation as somebody that sells like you and Ricky Morton? I mean, shit.
And then, um, oh, that is a really good compliment. But then it's like also the end of his career. He had a great he had a great WCW run from that like 92 to 94. I thought like he had good shit with Rick Rude, and then the ending of his career, his later matches with Steve Austin, it was all good shit. Like, yeah, I mean,
Well, the
there were
problem
other
with
guys
Steve
on that. There were other guys on that list that other guys and women on that list that I was like, I can't vote for them before I vote for Ricky.
the problem with Steamboat is that bullshit with his injuries is going to haunt him because it seemed like it was a constant stop start. At least in my adulthood, not in my childhood, it wasn't. But in my adulthood, it was always all right, he's here for 4 years. His contract's up. Now he's got a back injury. And then he's gone for like a year and a half, and then he shows up maybe in WCW, and then he's there for a year and a half, and then he tore a ham. Oh, oh, that to me was always kind of a hindrance to me. Which, let's be honest, pull the curtain back, dummy. What I mean? We know what you're doing.
Yeah. The next inductee for this year, actually, out of the three of us, let me see, Chad,
Dick
me,
Fire.
Aaron's the only one that voted for this young lady this year, but I'm glad she got in anyway. This is another one of those people that I, had a vote. I voted not for her, not because I didn't want her to get in the Hall of Fame, but because there was someone else maybe I thought was more deserving, or maybe like Ricky Dozon trying one more last chance to get him in. Sherry Martel is our next inductee this year. You talk about being of significance to the business, setting a standard, being an innovator. Sherry was. I mean, yeah, granted, I guess you could say she's not the draw, but
She
that's
did.
not.
She did make it, right?
Yeah, she's in. She's in
Oh,
this
good,
year.
good.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
awesome.
surprised Chad didn't vote for her, but it's like I said on the We Can't Wrestle podcast we did of this. Like I consider her like the female equivalent manager wise of Bobby
Bobby Heenan.
Heenan, where you put a guy with her, he's gonna be a star because it's like if Sherry's with him, then he's got to be good. You
You
know
know
what I
what's
mean?
funny though? I'm not disputing what you're saying about her being the female Bobby Heenan in that respect, but actually with how outlandish she was and everything, and how much she just captured your attention and took up the screen when she was on it, she's almost more like a female Lou Albano. You know what I mean? Like just wild.
I don't know. I
You
don't know
know,
about all. And
I don't know.
No, it's
take
not in a
on.
bad
She did
way.
kind of take on the character of the people she was with.
Yeah,
But I get that.
but
But
I know
I
what
just
you're
think
saying too. I got what you were saying too.
I feel like I didn't give Sherry like the amount of credit that she really deserves only because I knew her. But 30,000 miles away, you're looking at it going, damn, she was. You know what I mean? Like when you step back and look at it, I'm thinking like, damn, she really was good. She did like, when anybody says like, when you go out there and do this, and then I'll never send you to do anything I wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
She do it. I'll do it. What do you mean? You'll take a high heel in your eye, or a fireball, or whatever. I'll do it. Okay, all right. Well,
Well, that's the other thing too. Is she's one of those people where, with my age group, it's kind of like a Gene Okerlund or whatever. With my age group, she is a integral part of my fandom as a kid and then a teenager. She's such an integral
it's
part of
like
my early life
um
fandom that.
like I said before on the other show, like I don't think Shawn Michaels would have had the career that he had if she wouldn't have been the person that they put him with. You know what I mean? And then like Randy Savage doing that Macho King shit, it would have still been good, but it wouldn't have been near as great if it wouldn't have been Sherry with him. You know
I
what I
think
mean? Like
I think
she
Aaron,
she
I think you
enhanced
nailed that.
she enhanced the people that she was put with, even if they were already established. She enhanced them. In
Aaron,
my
you
opinion.
nailed that. When you said, when you as soon as you said Shawn Michaels, the light bulb went off in my head. Because I mean, Shawn Michaels would walk out there and he would grab the microphone from Gene Okerlund or whoever and start talking, and nobody would say shit, nothing, and he would just talking about how great whatever he was saying,
He
and
would have
then
been
as
a
soon as
fat little guy with a mullet, a
and
fat hairy guy with a mullet. That's all he would have been.
as soon as Sherry grabbed the microphone and started yelling for everybody to shut up, you know, you heard everybody in the Mid Hudson Civic Center or the Poughkeepsie, whatever, White Plains, booing because she just incited it. Sean couldn't do it on his own. Not saying that he couldn't do it on his own, but he wasn't gonna do it that fast.
At that point, he probably didn't have the confidence, even though he seemed like he did. He probably didn't have the confidence. She helped his confidence, and to get that Heartbreak Kid character off the ground, with all the cocky heels that had ever existed and all the cocky heels that existed, you needed Sherry. The whole gimmick where like he would grab her by the hair and throw her down on the mat, and then
But
she
you
just
like it.
and yeah, and it that, like Aaron said, that gave the fucking rocket fuel to the character, because if
And she
not,
was
it's just if not,
she was bigger him.
it's
Like
just
that's
Shawn
the other thing.
Michaels.
It's like
Yeah, it's just Shawn Michaels. Just I don't know.
I mean,
being pudgy and hairy with a mullet, and she was bigger than him, and it's like it just it worked. And I don't think his character would have had the trajectory it had if they wouldn't have pinned
no.
her on him. And I don't, like I said, I don't think the Savage thing would have. Savage obviously would have been great as the Macho King or whatever, but her being a psycho and then putting that
Okay.
psycho with him, it just made it even better. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, who else is better to get over Buddy Rose and Doug Summers?
That too. It's like
Come
these
on.
guys are the sexiest guys alive, and it's like, well really? I don't know about all that.
She was drunk enough to fuck them, and I haven't even never been drunk enough to fuck Sherry.
Well, our next inductees this year Let's see. Chad did vote for them, and Aaron did not.
I love the super intelligent destroyer.
And
What?
it
It's not him?
is. It's gonna be Bobby, Dennis, and Stan, all three of them together. The Midnight Express. Jim Cornette's already in a couple of years ago, so he doesn't get to. We don't have the 2-time. You get to go in 2 times. Well, maybe we will eventually when we run out
Two
of fucking
times.
people. 2
Two
times, like
times.
Bruno.
Two
2
times.
times. Two.
Yeah. Roddy Piper making fun of Bruno on
2 times.
TNT. 2 times.
But
Well, I personally don't believe in the you can't go in 2 times, 3 times, whatever times thing. I think that you're putting them in the Hall of Fame based on their criteria as whatever you're putting them in at.
Right.
And people like Jim Cornette, Midnight Express. I mean, Midnight Express is the Midnight Express, but yeah, but
And you know what? It's my Hall of
asked
Fame.
Nate
I might change the rules later. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. But
of course you
And
can.
I asked Nate on the last show. He was like, it's going to be Condrey, Lane, and Eaton. I'm like, Norvell's not in?
Yeah,
Where's
Randy
Norvell?
Rose.
we decided we're letting Norvell in.
Randy Rose.
We're letting Norvell in. No Randy Rose and no Bodacious Bob and Bondastic Bart or whatever the fuck. None of that.
Oh, there goes my nominations.
Randy Rose looks like Tiger King, by the way. Like when I saw a picture, oh shit, it's Tiger King.
Dude,
It's
I
Randy
think he
Rose.
changed my oil the other day. Literally, when I pulled in there into the quick change place, and I looked at him, I think I even heard his music playing. He had it playing on a tape deck in the background.
Yeah, you
Like,
pulled into the bed and it was like,
he's still looking for Secret Service Jack Victory.
Well, he wasn't looking at that quick lube job place that I was at because he wasn't there. It was just Randy Rose.
So
we'll ask the question. Oh, sorry, Nate.
No, you go ahead, Aaron.
We'll ask Chad the question that got asked on the last episode, and Chad's significantly older than us, so maybe he'll
Significantly.
Maybe his answer will be different. When somebody says Midnight Express to Chad Austin, do you think is Bobby and Stan or Bobby and Condrey?
Top of my head, Bobby and Condrey. But then as soon as I say it, you know, as soon as you say Bobby and Condrey, you go, fuck, I forgot about Stan. But it's only because of my love for the original Midnights versus rock and rolls from like Mid-South kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like and like Dennis is the kind of guy, like I'm a Bobby Eaton guy. Don't get me wrong. If I could say like my style of work in the wrestling in the ring has resembled anybody, it'd probably be Bobby Eaton. But nobody has the what's the word for it? Like Nate, when you say like the whereabouts, the know-how, like the
wherewithal.
Yeah, of Dennis Condrey. Like he's never not there. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter what the spot is. Whatever the spot is, Dennis is going to be there. And me, I ain't that kind of guy. I'll forget something where somebody will have to yell at me and say, get in your spot, or, get over here or whatever. But Dennis never was. Never was.
Dennis Condrey also actually has one of my favorite promo lines in the history of professional wrestling. I don't remember who he's talking about. I don't even remember who they were feuding with at the time. But when he talks about the match, he says that the Midnight Express is going to take these guys and beat them up so bad that they're going to open up everything that's closed on them and close up everything that's open on them. And I love that fucking line. That's a hell of a line. Like we're gonna bust your head open, but your eyes are gonna be fucking shut by the time you're done.
And we're gonna talk about this guy in a little bit, but like in the course of like the Midnight Express, there were multiple members of it and different incarnations of it, obviously.
Not really.
Which is like it would. Yeah, but it's kind of like Condrey was kind of like the Arn Anderson of the Midnight Express. Like
Right.
he's the man of it. You know what I mean? Like
The family.
what you said about Condrey is the same thing you could say about Arn. He was never not there. He was typically the best worker in the entire group and just whatever. But yeah, it's like for me as a kid in my age, I think of Stan and Bobby just because I think of like Cornette introducing them and then Stan introducing Cornette. You know, it's like that was the midnight for me. But yeah,
I guess I'm not a fan of Stan Lane, apparently. Like now that you said that him introducing Cornette, now I just realized I didn't even like that.
I'm a
I
fan
did.
of Stan Lane in the Midnight Express. I'm not a fan of Stan Lane outside the Midnight Express.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm a bigger fan of the Fabulous Ones.
Like
God,
Stan
from Memphis, Tennessee, seriously?
Stan Lane doing commentary on Superstars in the early '90s with his uber white teeth, just sucking Vince McMahon's ass for an hour. I'm not a fan of that, Stan Lane.
I didn't say I liked any of that.
So the
Well,
next
I mean, he
guy
pulled
that
it off and kept his teeth white, so good for him.
Yeah, that's a chore.
the next feller that got in this year got a vote from Chad and a vote from Aaron. Arn Anderson in the
Man.
We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Fame class of 2024.
Well, Dick Beyer, let me tell you,
Next
that
year,
guy,
next year we got to get that guy on the ballot.
that guy.
He hadn't
I
even
mean,
been on the ballot yet.
Arn Anderson. Seriously, can you have a conversation? Is there probably anybody my age, as you put it so eloquently earlier, Aaron, older than you? Is there anybody my age that when you give somebody a list and say put your top 5 best workers in that list, is not going to have Arn Anderson either, if not 5 or in the top 5, penciled in, or somebody he would go, I thought about putting him in, you know, kind of spot.
Absolutely not. And it's like I told Nate before on the other show. It's like like guys like people talk about like Kurt Angle and guys like that being just natural when they got into the business. Arn was the same way, I think. And um, another funny thing is, um, when I pointed this out today, like when the NWO came into WCW and they did the whole like my spot, your spot, that spot, liver spot, and they were calling Arn Anderson old. Arn Anderson's 67 years old right now.
Yeah, I was going to
Kevin
say,
Kevin Nash is 66.
yeah.
He's
Arn
one
Anderson was like
year
35
younger.
years old.
Yeah, and Kevin Nash was like, "Oh, this old fossil," or whatever. It's like he's 1 year younger than him. You know what I mean? It's like, and Nash is awesome in my opinion, but Arn Anderson is 10 times better than fucking Kevin Nash. And I don't want to I don't want to get too deep into it or whatever. But Arn didn't have the longest career of anybody on this list, but he did so much in that time, and I
And
I
something
think
I
he
did,
might I think he might be, if he's not the best, he might be the second best tag team wrestler of all time, in
and
my opinion.
also something I didn't
I
think to
love tag
say,
team wrestling.
something I didn't think to say when we did our last episode with Kyle, Aaron, was another thing that rings true about Arn Anderson. I don't know, you guys can tell me if you think I'm wrong, but he's the first guy I think of when I think of the world television title.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, he literally just passed through my mind because I thought of Tully first,
Okay.
but literally I went like to Arn, like Tully Arn, because Tully was so quick, but Arn made it. Arn made that belt. Like, I mean, let's be honest. What the fuck was the television title anyway? You know, because you've always had these, you know, interventions or whatever the fuck they were of what a TV title is supposed to be. I'm the best wrestler on TV. We're all TV. You know, Mark Fleming's on TV. Gene Liggins on TV. But the gimmick was you can't beat him in 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But he
And
never
Arn.
he never
Oh,
even
sorry.
he never even argued that point. You weren't beating me, period. You know, like it wasn't even a 10-minute rule when Arn was the TV champion. It was you're just not beating me. You know?
Yeah. Arn would be the A1, and then the AB for me wouldn't be Tully. It would be Regal. But those would be my two. Like when I think of the TV title, those are the guys I think of. But I just think Arn Anderson. Like I said, I from the first time you saw him on a national level where he's cutting the promo on the beach with his New York Yankees cap on to when he's cutting his promo about retiring. It's like it was like 10 years, but it was a goddamn great fucking 10 years, and
It was like
it might
26
be what
years and
it might
crammed into 10 years.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't
And
a bad thing.
it might be one of the best 10-year careers in the history of wrestling. Or I might be wrong in saying 10 years, but you know what I'm saying. Like it's one of the best fucking careers of all time. And then
Dude,
when he was
his
done,
Southeastern stuff. I mean, seriously. If you haven't seen his Southeastern stuff, um, like some of his promos about Jerry Stubbs calling him Mr. Peanut Head and shit like that. Like knowing the guy's bald and the guy has hair plugs and he's pulling the curtain back on promos and you know what I mean? And he's making fun of his baldness and shit. That was great stuff. And that was about a year and a half before he even got to Atlanta. Like that was like Arn Anderson. Like and that was even before he was Marty Lundy in Mid South when he was in Southeast. Have you guys ever seen any of that stuff?
I don't think I've seen any of the Southeast stuff. I've seen the Mid-South stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen any of the Southeast stuff.
Oh, that stuff is his Southeast stuff is the best. Like that got him the job. That's what got him the job in Atlanta from when Ole saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And Ole called him up, and I forget the whole entire, cousin, brother, whatever kind of thing, but he had to get him up to Atlanta. But yeah, his promos and stuff in Southeastern were the best.
and then we're gonna talk about Cena in a little bit. In the WWE, all that great Cena shit that everybody talks about, all his matches and all that shit, it was all fucking Arn as the agent, and it's because he knows what the fuck he's doing. You know what I mean? And that's why I think it was the guy's great, and we don't need to go too much more into it. But
Well, the
Well,
next
he's the best guy I ever been to a strip club with. For him to tap me on the shoulder at the hotel bar and tell me he's getting ready to walk over to the strip club, do I want to go? And I just looked at him. I went, "You're Arn Anderson, and I don't have any money." And he said, "Come with me." And we walked over to that strip club that was conveniently parked on the same parking lot as the venue we were wrestling at the hotel. I mean, and
how convenient.
yes, it's like a pop-up strip club. they just put them up where a bunch of wrestlers are at.
It's like a food truck.
And I
It's like a
never
food
seen
truck. It's like
anybody
a
have a
food
good
truck.
time.
It's like a food truck, but it's a strip club.
Pretty much. And I ain't never seen anybody have a good time. I sat there at the bar with my no money and just watched the girls dance, and I watched him the whole entire time. And this dude, he just had the time of his life. And eventually, he called me over and he gave me a couple bucks. You know, it's like, hey, you gotta play along. Well, I can't play along. I work for WCW. I'm a job guy. You know, I don't get paid until Tuesday.
And
You know,
everything
so
I've ever read and heard, he's a funny motherfucker too.
he was, man. He was. And I don't even think that me and him even talked about the business even a second, not even 1 second. And here I am. It's me, you know. Why wouldn't I want to talk to you about wrestling, Arn?
Larry Zabisco said he called him the cigar store Indian because you just stand in the corner and don't do anything.
Well, Larry Zabisco, I probably wouldn't want to have a conversation with him about wrestling.
And then Tony Schiavone on a podcast I was listening to him said he walked into the fucking locker room and said, "Oh, I'm having another kid," and he had already had like 5 of them. And Arn Anderson said, "You have so much sperm in you, you could wash a water buffalo."
Tony Schiavone?
The next guy that we're inducting this year into the Hall of Fame,
Dick Byers.
He's been kind of on the ballot. He's been on the ballot since the very beginning, since 5 years ago when we started this thing. Finally gets in this
Lord
year.
Alfred Hayes.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
But there's nobody more intelligent than the super intelligent destroyer.
Bob Backlund.
Oh. Oh, no, Bob Backlund.
And here's what's funny about Bob Backlund, and Aaron and I kind of discussed it already, is I'm a fan of both Bob Backlunds, except all right, let me lay it out, Chad, and I'll let you talk. But I like WWF champion Bob Backlund okay until the shaved head and a singlet. And then he went kind of, I don't know.
I got you.
But then I am actually a humongous fan from an entertainment standpoint of the Mr. Bob Backlund character. That was one of the most entertaining things in the mid-90s in pro wrestling, in my opinion. That dude took that shit that could have been awful and turned it into some surreal, insanely entertaining, funny shit that Mr. Bob
I've been
Backlund.
watching. I watched them. I've been watching '95. Like I was like, I'm gonna watch '95 Superstars because they took a lot of the shit. Like they took a lot of the Raws off of the. Obviously, they took Raw off of Peacock and they haven't put them back all on the
Are
network.
you married,
or whatever.
Aaron?
Am I married? No.
Okay.
Why do you think I get to watch 1995 Superstars
That's
at
all
2 o'clock in the fucking morning? No.
Because I was watching 92 Superstars. So I'm just asking.
I was watching 95. I was like, I'll watch 95 Superstars since they took Raw off. And they did great shit with him angle-wise. And when I say, I'm not saying angles like his storylines, I'm talking like camera-wise. Because he cuts these long, nonsensical promos, but they're shooting like below him.
Yeah.
And he'll just be like, "I'm Mr. Backlund, and I believe the children need to be educated." And then he stops talking for like a minute,
They have to know the
and it's just
president.
fucking dead air, and he's just staring off into space.
And they're giving
condominiums
condominiums to kids in school.
Just his like action zone or live event promos, like he'll be talking and he'll stop and he'll stare off from the fucking distance, and it keeps playing. I'm like, this guy was a fucking genius.
Do you think he did that on purpose?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I think that I really do think it's one of those things. It's the testament to the talent of the guy. I think that Vince McMahon gave him the basis of, Bob, who you are or who you present yourself to be on TV is not going to work. I want you to be a psycho.
Can you
I think
imagine
Bob
this
Backlund. I
conversation?
think Bob Backlund is absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
I think they
exactly.
said. I think they said like a lot of times where they like you know like I don't think what
He's
he was
going
doing
through
in the I don't
dementia
think what he
now.
was doing in the 70s and 80s was actually him.
Yes,
And then
totally.
when he got there in 92, yeah, this isn't working. And then it was like Bob, be yourself.
And he is aloof.
I think
You
Backlund is
can
a
tell.
perfect person.
I can tell from my conversation with him when I met him that he is actually kind of he's a smart guy, but he's very aloof. Because and Aaron was there, but I gave him I think it was an issue of like I don't know, it might have been Inside Wrestling or The Wrestler, whatever it was. But the issue of the magazine that I had was when he was wrestling Patera when he was WWF champion.
82.
So I had him autograph the cover because I had him and Patera on the cover, and he just looks at the guy, whoever his flunky was or whatever. He just looks at the guy and he goes, Patera. Ken Patera. I need to call Patera. I heard he's not doing so good.
Hey
But
Bob, I need to call you because I don't think you're doing so fucking good.
and I just listen, I just envision Patera picking up the phone going, "What the fuck you want, Bob?
I'm just checking on you. Hey,
I'm fucking fine, Bob.
who was the 13th president?
Fuck off, Bob."
Fucking mother, you dumb son of a bitch.
How much does Vernon still owe you?
Oh, $19,267.47, motherfucker.
Yeah, Backlund is yeah, he's a completely he's a different animal, man. That guy, I've never met anybody like him at all, ever. Completely just a different person. Just I really don't know if he even knows what world that he's really in. Like wrestling, non-wrestling. Just what are you doing?
I'm gonna say something, and I'm not trying to be offensive when I say it. If this is gonna be okay, I think Bob Backlund is the biggest superstar in the history of the business. That I think Bob Backlund's autistic.
Yeah, he clearly is. I mean that goes
It's
without
an odd.
saying.
Bob Backlund's autistic. It is what it is, and I'm not saying it in a bad way at all.
Bob Backlund is awesomely autistic.
Yes, I've
He's the
had people
most
tell me I'm autistic, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. But I just think that
he's the most athletically autistic person we're ever going to meet.
Yep.
Pretty much. Yeah, I've never met anybody like the guy. The guy is completely just in a whole different planet, and you can't even put yourself into his shoes for a second to to even think what world you're living in. What are you doing, Bob? You know what I mean? Just and I've had the opportunity of hanging out with Bob multiple times, and never once have I ever got him. Just understood anything he's talking about. Never once. Just one time, Bob. Let me know about you and Bob Orton at the Baltimore Arena. How'd you get 2 matches out of that guy? Well, let me tell you about the Pony Express. I don't want to know about that, Bob.
Our next inductee into the Hall of Fame this year is Rick Rude.
Damn, big buyer. Still ain't making it. Rick Rude, I'll let you go, Aaron.
I know Aaron cast his vote for Rude this year. Chad and I, neither of us did cast our vote for Rude, But
I
Aaron,
never cashed him.
you were one of the people that cast your vote for Rick Rude this year. So
I voted for Mr. Pogo.
And
Sorry.
I'm a Rick Rude mark. I like the guy. I think he had great matches in WWF. He was one of the 3 guys to actually pull a good fucking match out of the Ultimate Warrior in that WWF time frame. And then when he got to WCW, and he was
Fell apart.
No, I don't think he fell apart. I think he had a better career in WCW than he did in WWE. Just
I'm still trying
because
to figure out what career he had that was good. I don't like any of them. Good.
I liked all of it. I thought he was great.
Terrible. It's your Hall of Fame, dude. You charge $10.
Hall of Fame is Nate's Hall of Fame. But like
my thoughts on Root, I kind of am, and Aaron is I guess I'd say quote unquote a bigger fan of Rude, but where I do agree with Aaron absolutely is I am much more a fan of Rick Rude's WCW run than I am his WWF run.
I mean, as much as I don't like him, I'll probably agree with that. That was with Sting, right?
Yeah, he had the thing with Sting. He had the thing with Steamboat there.
Okay. All right. Now you're talking.
Yeah, I mean he
I
just
remember when he bashed Steamboat with that fucking chair and oh god damn, it was great shit. And
no, I know.
But anyway, I'm a big fan of Rick Rude, and always have been, always will be.
Best thing I ever saw Rick Rude do was let his valet get punched by Jerry Lawler. Whatever her name was, Angel or Angela or whatever it was, in like 1985. That was the best thing Rick Rude ever did.
So and then he was in the 80s. He was in the MWO.
MWO.
The Mustache World Order with him and Manny Fernandez and Paul Jones. The Mustache World Order. That was good.
Oh, well, now you're talking. Now you got now I'm interested. You said Paul Jones, right? Yeah,
Paul Jones. I like Rude and Manny Fernandez as a tag team with Paul Jones as their manager. It's the only time I enjoyed Paul Jones.
I just like Paul Jones. I can talk Paul Jones all day long. Is he in the Hall of Fame?
No.
What? There's no Hall of Fame then. This is all sham. This is all just something that you concocted, Nate, for your little cockamamie.
What about the combination of what about the combination of Rick Rude and Percy Pringle in World Class?
That's good shit too. I like Rick Rude. Those two coming up the Smooth Operator.
Yeah, but their act kind of comes off because of the way Percy's flamboyant, is like Percy's convinced this young man to
be gay.
Yes, to get his break in the business.
This is how you get over with the promoters. You be gay. Hey, as soon as we're done with this interview, I'm gonna give you Mr. Barnett's number.
He wasn't taking it, so it was okay.
Hey, he started in Atlanta, didn't he? Right after that.
So our next inductees this year, not Mike, not Lance, not Fritz. It is Kerry, Kevin, and David, the Von Erichs. There are.
How Von Erich's not already in?
I'm actually of the opposite. I think there's people that are on this ballot that I don't want to shit on the Von Erichs.
You got Pete Von Erich.
I think the Von Erichs are in.
Von Erich.
Pete Von Erich. I think he works down here at the local plumbing place. But you can definitely say draw Absolutely. Being of significance to a territory, absolutely. I'd never call any of them except possibly David as a really good promo. I don't understand why they all called their brother Curry. Like, his name's not Curry, it's Kerry. What are you calling your brother Curry for? But anyway,
Curry Von Erich. That's the
Curry.
Korean Von Erich, isn't it?
That's my brother Curry. My brother Curry.
Curry.
I'll let you guys beat this up.
So overall, Chad and Aaron and I have already got to discuss it on another episode of another show. What is your
the Indian Von Erich would be Curry Von Erich. Anyway, I think that world class. I think I don't mean to talk over Chad, but I said on the last show that world class championship wrestling territory. It's my least favorite territory. It's like rinse, wash, repeat the entire fucking time.
Yes.
It does nothing for me.
It is.
I have no problem. I have no problem at all saying that Von Erich should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I thought they were already in,
but I ain't voting them in.
And they absolutely should be. And by our criteria, absolutely they should be. But I understand the wash, rinse, repeat thing too, because and the other thing, my biggest issue with world class during that heyday, and again, it was a heyday. They had a fucking what would you say, Chad? 3-year period, 4-year period, 3 year, yeah, like 83 to 86.
Okay, yeah,
hot as fucking lightning or white heat or whatever you want to call it. But I see what Aaron's saying too, because my biggest issue isn't even necessarily the fact that it's the same. You have the same people feuding for a long time. It's the fact that territory suffered from the fact that they hardly ever let the heels get any real heat.
No. Okay. I just wanted to see where you went with that, because I'm just like, no, they never did.
There are a couple of instances, like maybe the Hayes with the cage thing, and but
that was a one angle that started a 3-year feud. That
you're absolutely right.
and then what did they ever do? Like, I mean, at any time Michael Hayes broke out the cream, what happened to him? It was kicked to his face. Like, they never got any heat. Like, eventually, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a writer. I'm not a promoter. I'm not a booker or anything. But you guys can see this. How can you guys, where do you guys see yourself in 3 years? I don't know. That'll work. as long as these freebirds can't put the cream on anybody. And they put it on a bald guy like Iceman Parsons.
And if Bob Backlund's autistic, the Von Erichs have Downs.
Oh, I'm not going to argue
that. Thanks for letting me shoot my beer out my nose there. I appreciate that.
when they slam that door on Kerry Von Erich and they make him watch, and he's like, "Oh, dang!"
And he's in that stupid like fur coat. Why are you wearing that fur? Why are you wearing a fur coat in fucking Texas in the summer?
He's got a fur coat and a feather on his head. He's like, "Oh, dang!" It looks like a fucking donkey. Donkey face Von Erich. I don't know. Those guys don't do anything for me. David was, like you said, David probably would have had a better career.
David would have been and Chad. I want to ask Chad this because he wasn't with us when we recorded the last thing. I think personally, had he been able to, well, I don't know, fucking live, but had David Von Erich lived into the 90s and been able to be a heel based on what I saw of him or have seen of him as a heel, I think he could have been a significant part of the Midnight Wars. Not his brothers, but him. The Midnight Wars. The Monday Night Wars.
The Midnight Wars?
The Midnight Wars. That sounds fucking cool. But no, the Monday Night Wars. I think David Von Erich actually could have been a pretty big part of that if he would have lived. But That's just my opinion.
I think David. I don't know. I mean, we're fancy booking, right?
Yeah.
I think David would have been a great guy that could have been on both shows. You know,
Mhm.
like I'm not here for you. I'm not here for them. I'm here for me.
Right.
Because I mean, I look at David Von Erich, somebody that I semi frequently look for on YouTube. I'll pull up some of his, and some of his Florida stuff when he was a heel.
Oh man, it's really
It's
good.
it's really good. Like his interviews, like you wouldn't even think he just did a whole Von Erich part out of it. He's just David Von Erich. This guy is an incredible heel. So I think I really think he would have been somebody that would have been great that could have showed up like doing the Rick Rude part. But just if you can do then, now as you do then, and have him be on both shows. Like that other show was terrible. Now I'm here kind of thing. But I think David Von Erich was unquestionably he was on the path for superstardom. Probably that we probably wouldn't have seen until I don't know. Give me a name, a big name like not Hogan, but somebody
Like
else. Steamboat.
right. Because David was what, 24? Was he 24 when he died?
Well, considering they were all in their 20s or whatever the fuck.
So
Yeah,
at 24, if he doesn't croak at 24, he's still got 10 years at least on to be a top performer, if not a little more. So
and he
that
already
takes
been in the business probably what 7,
yeah
6, 7 years.
yeah because Fritz definitely liked to start him young.
Right. I mean, it's nothing against Fritz, but I mean, why not? But to have a guy that I mean, how do you figure out the guy is that talent? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he's that. How do you figure that out that quick? That this guy he's not Kerry. You know what I mean? And there's Kevin there sharpening his knife with his papayas and his bare feet looking stupid. And then you got just David, who's like doing, head scissors, in the corner, and Reunion Arena with the tiny ass ring, with David Manning standing around telling him he's got his laundry to do.
So we'll get our last inductee out of the way for this year, and I did vote for this guy.
Dick Beyer?
Still not Dick Beyer. Got to get him on the ballot first.
None of my guys made it.
But our next inductee this year into the Hall of Fame, and I actually did vote for him, and I can try to make my best case for it with present company, is John Cena.
Crowd goes mild. Aaron, you want to go first? I have to gather my thoughts.
You said I think I said on the last show is I can't say that John Cena's not a Hall of Famer or whatever, but there's just people I would vote for before him. But he was a in-ring talent and an ambassador to the business.
There you go. That's the word right there.
I think he deserves it, and I also think he's the last guy. After I thought about it a little bit more, I thought he was like the last um, guy you think about as being like
Hall of Famer.
a guy in the wrestling business, like guy like how do I say it, like guys like Hogan and Flair and all these other guys are like, oh, John's a guy that'll go down to the bar and fucking chug beers with you and have a good time. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so I'll give it with that. But yeah, it's just as a ambassador to the business and just an all around good guy and somebody that understands what the wrestling business is supposed to be, I'll give a nod to John. Like, what did he say that he went how many matches without winning because he wanted to put other guys over? So I'll give
Over
him that.
2,000.
And I mean, to be honest with you, I know that there's some people on the ballot that other people would say they probably think deserve to be in. But he gets my vote for a couple of reasons. First of all, as far as being a draw goes, for an amazing amount of time, he actually drew and sold merchandise and made money for a major professional wrestling company longer than Hogan, longer than Austin. Austin's run was amazing, but it wasn't that long.
It was 3 years.
And Cena, look at the amount of talent that has been in that company in the X amount, 23 years or whatever that he's been. I mean, it's been the past 5 years he hasn't been on top, but in the time that he was on top, the amount of talent that had to, the Shark Tank, I guess you will, of talent in that company that he had to compete with to stay on top. And you know what? At first, I've always said this. I say this. Aaron knows this. We're brothers. We've known each other our whole lives. When he first started, I wanted to fucking hate John Cena. I wanted to hate John Cena.
Everybody does.
And then as time goes on and he gets better and better and better, and you see what he can actually do, it's like, all right, can't hate him. He's pretty fucking awesome.
Him and Batista kind of
no.
got it at the same time, and when that company was like, we're going more Cena than Batista, at the time when I was watching it, I'm like, well, I'm a Batista guy. I don't know why they're doing that. But as it went more and more, I was like, they convinced me. I'm like, John's better than Dave Batista. You know what I mean? And I don't think he gets enough credit for being as fucking good as he is in the ring. And the other thing I'll give the guy, and then I won't say anything else, is he is a genetic fucking freak. Where it was like, he got this injury, and if any other human being got this injury, they'd be out for a year and a half. And you're like, oh, John Cena's going to be out for a year and a half because he got this fucking injury. And then he's back in 3 months. It's like, Jesus Christ. And he looks better than he looked when he fucking left.
Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
John Cena's stupid injury.
Listen, I popped a hip ripping a fart today.
Yeah. Well, you're no John Cena.
I'm not even a John works up the road at the oil change place.
You never even seen John. No, John Cena, without a doubt. I mean, let's be honest. I can sit here and just I can give you a million different reasons why he should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's John Cena.
And actually, I mean, honestly, because I've got the ballot for the people that are still on the ballot for next year. The Rock's still on the ballot for next year. He's 4 years on this ballot and hasn't gotten in yet. I would still, honestly, I would put Cena in before I'd put The Rock in, because I think Cena's run on top is
okay.
Cena's run on top's better. I think Cena's in-ring work is better. I don't know. I would put Cena in before The Rock, and I did. But I'm just saying, like, I think he's a credit to the business. And there's bad shit you can say about almost everybody, or you can find a negative in almost, not everybody, but almost everybody. And, they did a lot of catering to the kids and all that, but he was also a company man, and that's what Vince was telling him to do. Yeah, that's the business. And you're in business to make money, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I can sit here and argue all day long about how Arn Anderson's a better worker
Oh, absolutely.
than
Yeah.
John Cena, but he's John Cena. You know what I mean? Um, Arn Anderson's not John Cena. It's a whole different playing field. You know, we're talking once you start talking multimedia, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Forget about just saying I got 142 Twitter followers or whatever the fuck it's called. But once you get across, you know, and you're like, dude, I'm John Cena. You know, I was in a movie with that black dude, that little funny black guy. You know, I was
Kevin
in a movie
Hart.
with that. I don't know, whatever his little funny black guy is. I was in a movie with that guy. That means I made it. You know, like he transcends wrestling, and that's the shit that scares me. Like nowadays, when it comes to people that we're talking about, you know, coming up nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
is that what this business is going to be about? You know, you can transcend where you can springboard into what sitcoms. You know, is that bigger than pro wrestling? You know what I mean? Like being an extra in a sitcom.
In next week's episode of American Nightmare, Cody, yeah. runs into Carl Winslow.
They all can't be the next big actors, you know.
Yeah.
If the Von Erichs were still alive, their last wish would be to meet John Cena.
Well, if the Von Erichs
Chris's would.
if
Chris's
the Von Erichs were
definitely
still
would.
alive, they would all still be alive.
Dang.
Yeah, they're not still alive.
The Von
What
Erichs
about
have
Doris? Is Doris still alive? No. She's not still alive, is she?
God, if she
Let's
is,
kill her.
she should let somebody know she should be in the Guinness Book of fucking records. I'm old as fuck.
She's got more figures than Jim Barnett. God damn, that Doris Von Erich broad.
Well, we're gonna wrap up this Hall of Fame edition of Reliving
No, we
the
still
Extreme.
we still got more names. I got Bulldog Brower, Mike Miller from Portland, Mr. Pogo. Apparently,
Mike
I wrote down
McGirt.
Chipotle. Is there a guy named Chipotle?
Buck Robley.
Oh, he's already in. I mean, there's not a day goes by I don't wake up and just yell out, Buck Robley.
But next week, we will finally begin the year 1997 here on Reliving the Extreme. As we head toward the pay-per-view Barely Legal. And what Chad and I think Aaron even also have said is pretty much the peak of ECW. There's going to be good shit after 97. But that mid part of 97 is, my opinion, the peak. And, of course, we'll discuss it in depth as we go through the shows.
Yeah, we've already seen the best of these things.
I'm looking forward to the discussion of 97.
We ain't got to the Baldies yet.
The Baldies, Jesus Christ.